What is time management? Time management is, you got to answer the question. What is time management? The base, or should I say, I'm sorry. The basic element of time is what? The basic element of time is
Seconds.
basic element of time is an event. The basic element of time is an event. And the key to managing time is event control. Event control. And that's really what our focus is going to be, is everything we do is an event. And our ability to control our time, because first of all, everybody gets 24 hours a day. Sometimes once a year we get 23, and once a year we get 25. Here in Colorado at least. But you only get 24 hours a day. Can you stop the clock? No. But you can control the events in your day. So the key to managing time is event control. So when you see this piece up here, and I'm only going to just spend a few minutes on this, is the tyranny of the urgent. When things are right in front of us, we see it as a crisis, we see deadlines, all of that. It's urgent and it's important, right? When the phone rings, we pick it up because what? It's ringing. So therefore we assume that it's something that we've got to attend to right away. Not always, but that's the assumption, because when the phone rings, we're going to answer it. This quadrant here is considered not urgent, but it's important. Planning, setting vision, setting goals, improving things, building relationships. Not urgent, because I don't need to do it today, right? I don't need to set that, but it is important. Then we have categories here. Not important, but urgent. So, interruptions, emails. How many of you have on your phone every time a message comes through? Ping, 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 ping. Okay? Is it important? No, it's not. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can be. But a lot of times it is not. But when that happens, what do? Every time that ping comes through? You look at it. You look at it. Nowadays, I see people like this all the time. You can't tell me that when you're walking across the street that you gotta be checking your phone. Okay? And then we have not important, not urgent, can be scrolling the internet, looking at. My youngest daughter, she comes up with some of the cutest videos that are on, I don't know where she gets them from, YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. They're so cute, and I'm like, how long did it take you to find these? Oh, it doesn't take long. You just put in there puppies, and it brings up all of these videos about puppies and pictures, and I'm saying, why? Because it's just fun, Mom. Okay. All right. So when we think about this piece in terms of event control, how much time do we spend in each of these quadrants? How much time? And where should we spend a huge part of our time? See, that's my dumb phone making those noises. Where should we spend a huge part of our time? Which quadrant? Which one is going to have the greatest impact on us in terms of controlling things? Quadrant 2. Because one, we're planning. We're looking at what's important to us, clarifying our values. our goals, our objectives. We're looking at relationships. These are always going to be here. Things are always going to be deadline and crisis and fires and whatnot. Those are going to happen. But sometimes those could be lessened if we're doing more here. Because you're controlling things at that point. You're putting things in perspective. But fires are always going to happen if we have no plans. Because now you're operating based on other people telling you what needs to be done, not based on what you're doing. Did you fix your pizza?
No, not yet.
Well, you need to get your pizza as hungry as you are. See, I'm looking out for you. You gonna heat your pizza up?
Yeah, she's
Oh, I think they're open. Go ahead and put it up there. All right. So that's the piece to remember. Is my ability to manage time is looking at what happens in the course of the day. We gave all of you planners, and we gave them to you for the purpose of looking at what does your week look like. If you were to plan out your week and look at if I'm in school during this time, if I've got sports activities, if I've got church activities, if I've got all of this, and I map out my day, then you should then be able to determine when you have time to do planning so that you can determine, am I utilizing my day well? Do I have goals for the week? When I do a to-do list, is it just a list of stuff, or do I really look and say, what is it that I can actually get done this week? Because if your week is filled with so many things, you've got to map out how much time do you really have available to do stuff. That's why procrastination hits in significantly, because we don't plan well. So then we wait till the last minute. You guys have to write papers for school on occasion? Yeah? Okay. So you know on the syllabus that that paper is due in 2 weeks, right? In most cases, you look and say, okay. And how many of you wait till the night before and you cram to get it done? But you've known for how long? 2 weeks sometimes. So the goal is, why didn't you start it? And so therefore, all you were doing was cleaning it up, massaging it when it was due, instead of starting from scratch. Because I haven't researched one iota. I haven't even figured out what the topic is. And now it's due. And now it becomes what? A crisis. So now it is urgent and it's important because it's due tomorrow. If I had spent some time here, it would not have become a crisis because I would have planned for it. So I would have put in my schedule, I'm going to work on it 15 minutes today. Tomorrow I'm going to spend a half an hour on it. The next day I'm going to spend time on it. The next day. So when it's due, all I got to do is turn it in because I've already spent time working on it. But that has to be a thought process that you're going to utilize. So you got to look at priorities, boundaries, the power of no, and how you're going to manage your time. And why are boundaries important? Yeah. And you got to be able to protect what you need to get done. You can't do that if you don't establish boundaries. So when your friend calls and says, hey, I'm going to the mall, don't you want to go with me? You can say, you know what? I'm working on my paper right now. Oh, come on, you can do it later. I'm working on my paper right now. That's a boundary. That's not allowing yourself to be influenced by others and their schedules, because they may want to stay up all night and work on their paper, but you don't. Okay? So how do you get organized? Well, there's several components, but doing a time log. So if you were to look at your week and plan out your week and say, this is what I have going on. And I say do it for 2 weeks. That way you can see if it's kind of changes, the dynamics changes. Then you can determine how many hours am I in school, how many hours are in sports, how many hours are in clubs, How many hours am I working? How many hours am I going to church? How many hours am I volunteering? Whatever it is, you do that for about 2 weeks, then you can see what percentage of time am I spending on these activities. And then you can decide, do I want to do that on some of them? You can say, I'm spending a whole lot of time watching TV. I'm spending a whole lot of time playing video games. I'm spending a whole lot of time surfing the internet. Because when you do a time log, you are going to map out everything you do all day long. And you do it in kind of increments of 30 minutes so that you can just track it from that perspective. But that'll give you an idea of where am I spending my time, how am I spending my time, and then at that point you can come back and say, I can cut out an hour here, I can cut out an hour here, and then I have more time to do some of the things that I want to do instead of feeling pressured to do all these other things that are not getting me the results that I'm looking for. Does that make sense? Block time. Block time is like when you're in class, you're in that class. So if it's algebra, you're in algebra. So you can't be doing English when you're in algebra. Well, you can if you didn't do your homework the night before. Sometimes you are. But when you're in that class, that's kind of what we call block time, which means that that time is set aside just for that. So when you're playing basketball, you can't be thinking about baseball, can you? No. So you're playing, so that's block time. When I am set aside a specific time, and that's all I'm doing at that time. So for those of us who work, block time is if I'm reading a book in terms of something that I'm working on, I will block time and say, for the next half an hour, I'm going to read that book because I need it for a project that I'm working on. So I don't do anything else. I don't answer the phone. I don't talk to people. I spend that time. So it's like a meeting with myself. Yep, a meeting with myself, which is I'm not available to do anything else other than that. So I do that sometimes. I schedule meetings with myself. And that's do not disturb, meaning I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to answer questions. I'm not going to look at anything else. I'm going to focus on whatever it is, that meeting with myself. Okay? Batch task is where you may put all the things together. And so what I always say is I don't check my email all day long. I check it at certain times. So I may do all my messaging. So I check open all my mail, I check voicemail, check email, and then I do all of that at one time, and I do it maybe a couple of times a day, and that's the only time I do it. That's batch task. I'm putting the things that are like together and do them all at one time. So those of you that are working on papers and so forth, you can say, I'm going to do all my research at one time. And therefore, I'll have my research for whatever that I'm working on. And then I only have to go on the internet one time. So, and in that batch time, I may say, I'm going to work on this project or this paper for 15 minutes, and I'm going to work on this paper for 15 minutes. And I actually set my alarm. So when my alarm goes off, I shift gears and I move on to the next activity. So I'm not saying I'm going to do it for half an hour and then an hour later I'm still working on it. Because what happens is that if I don't stick to the time, I find myself doing other stuff instead of doing what it was I said I was going to do. So if I'm going to wash dishes, I'm going to wash dishes and say I got 30 minutes, and when 30 minutes is up, I'm done. Then I move on to something else, whether everything's done or not. That's how you manage your time. And then priority lists. If I make a list of things, what's a priority? That means it absolutely must be done first. B priority, if I finish all the A's, then I do the B's. And then once I finish the B's, I do the C's. What typically happens in the course of the day? Which ones get done first? They do. Because it's like, oh, I need some endorphins. Yes, check. I did the C's. Now, if the C's were important, why didn't you make it an A? Because it wasn't that important. But I always tell people, make some of your C's A's so you can get some endorphins and feel good about the fact that you checked off something on your list. Yep. All right. So there's your time log. So what are some of our biggest time wasters?
Social media.
Social media. Yes. Scrolling. What are you looking for? Don't have to be looking for anything. Just how much time do you spend on social media? Do your time log and see just how much time you spend on social media. And then at that point decide, I'm spending 3 hours a day. Because even if you break it up in chunks, you look at the full amount of time, I'm spending 3 hours checking Instagram, chat, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. Whatever all of them are called. I don't even know most of the names of them. Is that important? Young people? For you guys, yeah. Why?
Or why is social media important?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not important. Well, that was a trick question.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like for certain things it can be, but I feel like it depends on what it is.
Okay.
If your job is an influencer,
Yeah.
if that's what your job is.
If your job, yes. Okay.
But if not, it's not going to buy the car, buy the house, pay off your credit card.
Absolutely. It's not going to do any of that. And looking at everybody else's stories and pictures and all of that. Huh? Yeah, want to be like the Joneses. Look, they got. Oh. How am I going to? You're not going to get it by looking at your phone. Okay. So just think about these questions. What are you doing to manage your time and what could you be doing differently? So thinking about managing my time if I work. And in the course of the day, how many hours are you in school? 6? About 6 hours or so? Okay. 6 to 8 hours depending on your schedule sometimes. And then some of you have jobs. So how much time are you working? And then in terms of things that are happening at home, how many of you eat dinner with family at least 3 days a week? Okay? And I mean eating together, not in the car, on your way somewhere. Okay? But think about that in terms of the quality of that time. And part of that, again, can be controlled based on everybody looking at their schedules. Where you say, on Saturday night or on Sunday afternoon or whatever, we're going to have dinner together. So don't schedule time with your friends. Don't schedule time with, that's going to be our time. So you got to plan that in the schedule. Because if you don't plan it, what happens? It doesn't get done. It does not get done. It's not going to happen. So, if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. Now, part of this is that's those A priorities sometimes. Because A priorities are hard. The A priorities are things that we know we absolutely need to get done. We just don't want to get them done. And those are the ugliest. So that's what you want to think about is how do I make sure that my A priorities. So we're going to talk about how do you take your A priorities so they don't seem so daunting and break them into smaller pieces. So Renee, did you eat those mushrooms? They were pretty good, weren't they? See, I saw you. Told you, doesn't it taste like meat? Yep. Don't you pick them mushrooms out. It's like eating meat.
She got me all.
just don't like mushrooms.
All right. So the journals that you have, and they're all different, but what's unique about the journals is that one, you have a page that just has your calendar. And then you have another page that has space. And it might even have a to-do list in there. That's where you kind of write down, what do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to focus on today? When should you do your calendar or your planner or whatever? Morning or night? You actually should do it the night before. Why? Because when you wake up in the morning, you already are ready to go with a plan. When you wait till the morning, then you're rushing because the day has already started, unless you're getting up 2 hours before, which I know you don't get up that early. You just kind of roll out of bed. I took my shower last night, rolling out of bed. Let's see. Okay, I'm in the car, 15 minutes. I'm ready to go. I don't know how y'all get ready in that fast a time. I'm sure when I was your age, I did too, but now it takes me a good hour, so I can get up 2 hours before I need to head out. Okay, but you want to look at, so in that journal, utilize that to plan. What is it that I want to accomplish this week? What are the things that I want to make happen this week? And if you begin to do that, then you're in control of the events instead of the events controlling you. Because if you don't plan, guess what? If you don't plan your day, somebody else will plan it for you. Okay? Prioritize your task. If you have a to-do list and say, these are the things that I need to get done. A priorities, B priorities, C priorities. Cross off things that you've completed. Now, what happens is, are you crossing off things that are the top of the priority list? Or are you just crossing off things? The other thing is that if you have something on your list and you keep moving it from day to day to day, just put it on the day that you're really going to do it. Instead of putting it on Monday, knowing you're not going to get to it until Thursday, just put it on Thursday. But sometimes we do that and say, okay, this is my goal. But again, you want to look at how you're going to move from item to item. Carry over the unfinished tasks, but just try to make sure that you do it. So plan the night before. Keep your journal with you always. And this is just not like a calendar. This is a journal. This is to keep track of things that you want to accomplish and make sure that you are fulfilling what those are. That keeps a sense of satisfaction. And then remove tasks, postpone it 3 times. Just take it off. If you know that you've taken a task and you haven't done it and you've crossed it off 3 times, just take it off the list. Evidently, it's not important enough for you to do it. You're not going to do it, and it doesn't make sense to waste time on it. Okay? All right, a couple things. I'm not going to do this activity, but I want to talk a little bit about it. So I have a jar here. We'll see. Thanks for being here. And I have, we'll say these are big boulders, and then these are pebbles, and then this is sand. And if I had water, in order for me to maximize my time well, what should I put in here first? Yes?
I know this. I took this class. Put your big rocks in first, then your medium rocks, then your little rocks, then everything else.
Absolutely. But what do we sometimes have a tendency to do?
Sand first.
We put the sand in first. Then we put the medium-sized rocks in, the pebbles. Then we put the big boulders in, and they don't fit. We have to start with the ugliest frog first. And then put the pebbles in, put the sand in, and then you put water in it. Now for the adults, sometimes we say, or put some wine in it, because after you've done everything, you need a glass of wine. You got to relax. But the idea is that in order for us to set ourselves up for success, you got to start with the things that are the highest priority. If I do the things that are the highest priority, then all the other things I'll be able to get done. But if I start with the things that are the lesser priority, then I sometimes won't ever get to the big things because they seem overwhelming. And they are. That's why they're big. So what we want to do is we want to chunk, block, and tackle. How do you eat an elephant? One bite if you choose to eat an elephant. Okay? So I'm going to chunk it, meaning I got this big thing and I'm going to put it into smaller chunks. I'm going to block time for it, and then I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. And that's how we handle big, daunting projects. I break them up. I've got a big research paper. I don't start it the night before. When I get it, I chunk it into pieces. I'm going to do one piece here, do my research. Then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And then I block time in my calendar, in my planner to do it. And then I tackle it when I say I'm going to tackle it. 15 minutes here, half an hour here, an hour here, whatever it's going to take to finish it up. Then it's not daunting. But it's daunting when I first get it. It's like painting your house. You're not going to paint the whole house at one time. I don't care how much, unless you got 5 people coming in to tape and to set it up and move furniture and all of that. It's going to take time. So you have to look at, we're going to start with this bedroom, then we're going to do this bedroom, and then we're going to move the things from there back so we can then do this piece. You don't do it all at one time. Why? Because that's too daunting to do that. Okay? Make sense? I know you got to go too. You got to go play basketball. And I forgot to give them, hold on, because I forgot to give their gift cards to them somewhere.
My survey's right here.
Yeah.
Don't think I didn't fill it out.
All right, so you get a candy bar and a gift card.
You know I can't eat that beforehand.
Well, you can take it. And then take you, see? And then you take you a Chick-fil-A box. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
And here's your gift card. And I'll give you, oh no. I'll get theirs to them. I see them all the time, so. There you go. All right, thanks for being here. Okay. All right, so chunk, block, and tackle. And then this is the piece. How many of you perfectionists or OCD? Everything got to be in order. You can't move until it is. Well, okay, all right. You're welcome. Do not overplan to the point where you get nothing done. Typically, we say ready, aim, and fire. We're saying ready, fire, and aim, because sometimes you just got to go for it. And then you might have to come back and reassess or whatever. But sometimes if we take no action and we just keep saying, it's not perfect, it's not ready, one more, I just need one more day, or I need one more hour. Fire. Ready, fire. And then sometimes we might have to come back and make some adjustments. But you gotta, that is procrastination. Perfection sometimes is procrastination. Nothing's gonna ever be perfect. And sometimes we just have to put it out there. I've done the best. I believe I've reviewed. I believe I've analyzed it. But I just need to do it. I just need to do it. It's not always easy, but it's important to do that. When you are scheduling things, select one task to do at a time. So that's why I said, when you have a task, give yourself a time frame. I'm going to work on this for the next 10 minutes. And set your alarm. And when that 10 minutes is over, stop and move on to something else. Time yourself, ignore everything else. This is the hardest part of doing it. When I'm on my computer, sometimes I say, I'm going to work on this PowerPoint for 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, all these other things start buzzing up around my, yes. And I'm like, and I have to literally tell myself, stop it. Work on the PowerPoint, because you only have 15 minutes and then you got to stop and do something else. So you have to ignore all the other noise around you. No breaks or interruptions. When you give yourself a time to work on something, and then when you finish, give yourself a reward. So you can say, yes, I spent the time getting done what I needed to do. But when I don't do that, I don't give myself a reward. Like the other night, I was working on something and I said, okay, you got to go up because you got food in the oven. The other day, I burned a whole thing of muffins. And I burned them bad to where I could smell that they were burning. And I really wanted those muffins so bad. But why did that happen? Because I didn't turn my timer on. I put the muffins in the oven, started talking to my husband, sat down on the couch, was watching TV. And the next thing I know, oh my goodness, I smell them. You gotta set. That's the only time I use my phone a lot, is when I'm setting alarms for myself to remind myself to do stuff. But this is huge in terms of just making sure that you get tasks done when they need to get done. All right, the last one, tackling procrastination. I am a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it. Do you realize that you'll never get everything done? Never. Because there's always something else that comes up. So if you're ever going to be in control of your schedule and not allow your schedule to control you, you've got to determine how much time do I want to spend on this, and I'm not going to spend any more than that. And I'm going to be done and move forward. But why we procrastinate? We don't have any clear timelines. Sometimes we don't have the best resources. We don't know where to begin. We're feeling overwhelmed, lack of passion, or sometimes fear of failure. I want it to be right, and if it's not right, who's in control of you? Me, myself, and I. You got 3. So you got to set goals for yourself. Not based on trying to please mom and dad and aunt and uncle and grandparents. Because at the end of the day, you've got to figure it out for yourself. I want to make my parents proud of me, but I also know that I've got to set some parameters, and I can't live in their shoes. There's a principle in Dale Carnegie that says, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. So you got to walk in somebody else's shoes. My parents can't walk in. I can't walk in my parents' shoes because my parents' lifestyle and how they grew up is totally different than me. My kids can't walk in my shoes. Doesn't matter whether you can fit their shoes or not. They can't walk in my shoes, so I've got to allow them to make mistakes. Parents, we got to let our kids make mistakes. We got to let our kids make decisions that sometimes we have to just close our eyes and walk away and say, woo, I wouldn't do it that way, but okay. That's what you want to do? Okay. Have you thought about, I got this. Oh, nope. Okay, I got you. So we gotta allow them sometimes to make mistakes. We gotta allow them sometimes to come into their own, because that's how they're gonna learn. If we're making all the decisions for them, if we're setting up their schedules and troubleshooting every situation, then they don't grow, because they're trying to walk in our shoes. Okay. So 9 ways to overcome procrastination. I love the top 2. Delete it, delegate it, or do it. Ask for advice, chop it up, 15-minute rule, and that is, again, setting your clock, clear deadlines. Why do we have reward on here?
Bribe yourself to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of like, if I lose 10 pounds, I can eat this chocolate bar. Well, I only say 2 pounds, actually. But lose 2 pounds, I can have a chocolate bar. Okay. But a reward just gives us that incentive to do it. Doesn't matter what it is. If I finish the research part of my project in 15 minutes, then I can play my video game for 15 minutes. So you set up the reward, whatever you think is going to motivate you to get things done. Okay? And then remove distractions. What are some of the distractions that get in the way? Social media. Text messages. What else? What are some distractions in your own home sometimes?
Books.
Okay? Because if you like to read a lot, yeah. Siblings. Yeah. What else? What are some other distractions in your own home that get in the way?
For me, it's my couch. Want to sit down.
Yeah. Your pets? Yeah. Noise. Music, people cooking, people talking or whatever. So you've got to learn how to remove those distractions. So one of the things that I used to do, now it's easy. I just shut a door, and I just tell them, me time, me time. That means don't bother me, me time. When I was at work and I didn't have an office or whatever, I had a cubicle, I used to put a sign outside saying, I'm in a meeting. And some people would say, you're in there by yourself. I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting with myself. But you've got to learn how to remove those distractions. If you know that noise is around, cause you distractions, get your headset or whatever. But don't play music that's going to be a distraction either. Symphonic music, I know you guys probably don't like that, but symphonic music is good for the brain. And it's good for, music, soft music, no words, is good for studying and so forth, because it actually calms your brain and allows you then to concentrate. So if you know noise and people laughing and animals, all over the place, then put on a headset so that you can remove those distractions, because that then helps you stay focused. Because distractions will cause you not to stay focused on what it is that you need to focus on. So in your planners, I really encourage you to not just use this as a way to look at the date, but look at how can I be more productive. Use it as a productivity journal. How can I now manage events and not allow events to control me? If I have 8 hours or 24 hours in the day, you got to put in there when you sleep, when you eat, when you're in school, any other activities. And at that point say, then where's my me time? Everybody should have some me time every day. Every day. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, me time. And you can do whatever you want to do during that me time. Read a book, read your Bible, listen to music. But your time, by yourself, not with others. Not watching TV either. That's not me time. Me time is where you can just reflect and think about what's important to you and not have any distractions around. And scholars, you need to do that every day. Your lives are so busy with stuff that you need to find at least 15 to 30 minutes a day. That's just me time. If you got to go sit in the car to get your me time, do that. You got to go sit in the bathroom and lock the door. do that. Turn on the shower so people think you're taking a shower so they don't mess with you. Because I know with little kids, they say, let me in, let me in. I'm in the shower. Okay. I'll be sitting on the edge of the toilet. I mean, on the edge of the tub. Me time. Why is that important? Why do you think me time is important?
I feel like you can't function if you can't, like, if you're not okay with yourself. Like, you can't do anything else if you're not okay, I feel like.
Yeah. It allows you to reflect on who you are. So going back to that quadrant, the tyranny, quadrant 2, planning, self-reflection, that's in there, goal setting, all of those things are part of determining who you are. That helps you to determine your values. Am I living out my values? Part of that me time helps you to reflect on things like that. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Well, we've overloaded your brains today, but we did feed you well. So you can't complain. You did get to eat. Any final components? I know you were passing out an eval or whatever.
Think about the pieces on a scale of 1 to 10. Show you like a lot. Okay. Anybody kind of more like a 5? Anybody that's not their favorite? Okay. You like the McDouble better? So just think about it. Okay, just think about it. It's not when I said why do we eat? Okay, we eat to nourish our bodies really. Okay, we want to get full, but we don't have to always like just be satisfying our taste buds all the time. Okay, so we can eat stuff that maybe isn't our absolute favorite thing all the time. We have cravings, you know what I mean? But like I said, like being disciplined and making sure you get some good stuff in throughout the week and nurturing your body is really the point of eating. So we just have to kind of remember that when our taste buds are. And then use spices and try different things so you can satisfy those cravings with healthy stuff. You know?
Well, sometimes we have those cravings because that's all we're eating.
Yeah.
And we don't eat some of the good stuff.
Yeah, and
To
some of
know.
the things that the good stuff doesn't taste great the first time, but then after you have it like 2 or 3 times, you're like, you know what?
That's not bad.
It's good, and I like it with a little bit of cumin in it or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully, again, the information that you got on the cooking will be helpful as, again, you begin to do some of that yourself. Begin to plan those things out for yourself.